So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some more to this. So we have this debug, we go here, we don't have a windscreen set up, and I'm probably going to save that for last. But what I do want to do is go ahead and put in the, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to put in the way that is going to kill the player. Well, make the player lose the game. And we're going to put in an update. And I think regions are the only thing that you can kind of name the same way, and it's not going to cause a problem because it doesn't process it as a line of code. But you can't have two in one class, two initially declared variables that are named the same, even if they're different variables. So what we're going to do is, so if lives are less than or equal to 0, we're just going to debug it for right now. Debug log. You lose. And then we'll go immediately to our lose screen. So we go here, and we'll just click on the player so we can look at the lives. And then you lose pops up.
Where do you see that?
It is right here.
Oh.
It's kind of cut off. Well, it's almost cut off. It's hard to see it. And then we have both of these kind of skeleton out of how to win and lose the game. So let's go ahead and finish kind of whiteboxing this. So what I'm going to do is how many coins to win. Let's bring that up to 30. Let's create another let's do a 3D object. And this is one of my wall things. There we go. And this initial one, we're going to make it 20. And what I'm going to do is I am going to snap this. I'm going to hold down the V key, pick a vertex, so I can snap it to another vertex using that so it doesn't have gaps. And then I'm going to duplicate this, hitting Control D. And I'm going to do it again. So you hold down the V key, pick a vertex, and then move. Then I'm going to take this. So this is 20 by 20. I'm going to make this 1 and then 16. So I'm minusing, actually it might be 18. The distance between here so I don't have these interpenetrating one another. And then I am going to do the same thing and snap it. Hold down the D key. Snap. And actually, I know what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to make this so you could potentially fall off, and I just forgot about that. So let's make this a little bit smaller and make this somewhat interesting. So I'll go 14. We'll give the player some breaks, but not too many. And let's say here, let's do 10. And now from here, this needs to look like a maze. So I'm just going to duplicate this. And let's say we start out with 6.
You hold down shift to duplicate or
Control D. And I always want to give the player a safe area to start. Let's make this 4. Let's rotate this. I'm not going to do the whole maze because that design is kind of up to you guys. We'll snap that. I might have to make it a little bit smaller because the player can't get out of there. So let's do 2. There we go. And then we can start the player right in there and then build from there. Make sure you snap so that you don't have gaps. And then also make sure your map is interesting and that there's a fair amount of play balance, but is not frustrating to the players. Just it would never be that type of game. This here. Now, there's other thing I need to do before I did any of this, and I forgot, and that is prefab. So I'm going to go to Assets, create a folder. I'm getting ahead of myself. Prefab, so that once I change one, and I can change an inspector, I change them all. So I'm going to prefab the player. Drag that over there. Oh, and there's one more thing. Well, no, we don't need to do that. We got real-time shadows. We got the home. We'll prefab that. We have our trap. Prefab that. And we have our coins. We'll prefab that. Notice that these are blue. That represents a prefab. The rest of these are not. They're not prefab. I'm not so interested in prefabbing the camera. I can with the script attached to it. And
what does prefab mean?
prefabrication, so that when I want to use it over and over again, I just pull from my prefabs, and then let's say I have
The script, so everything is already attached to it.
yeah, or it's just an object that you prefab with no scripts. But the beauty of it is, let's say I change this and I increase my scale. I'm not in here, I'm actually using the prefab. It changes all instances of that prefab, which makes it easier to iterate and make changes. And then also keep in mind you do have these, so you want everything to be nice and neat. And then you can duplicate your prefabs. These all need to go down. And then you're going to build your maze from there. Make sure that we have a clear path to get to home, and then it really feels like a maze to a certain degree. Make sure that you have at least 4 traps and that you have enough coins, which you need 30 to complete it. You're about to say something?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, if you fall off, you still die, but you lose a life.
Yes. Well, we haven't put that in there. Thank you. So I'm going to save this. Save as a version up. So here, yes, we fall and we go back, but we don't lose a life. So here, what I need to do is before we get to this, we decrement a life. And then this will always calculate, do we have enough lives and have we died? But, yeah, that should be fine. And then let's test it. Now, here's the other thing. I don't type a whole bunch of code and go there. I generally type a little bit, test, a little bit, test, a little bit, test, because there's something wrong. It's easier to fix this amount of code than to fix, this amount of code. So, a little bit test, a little bit test, a little bit test. Don't try to do it all at once. Especially if you're starting to develop your own stuff, it's just not going to work. Say that again. Yeah, we can. Well, let's do that because I do want to add that in there. And I want you to add all your sounds this time are just going to be 2D. I do want you to add in some ambient royalty-free music. But if you want to add in sounds for that, it is very simple to do. Well, so let's do this. And I know there used to be like a coin sound effect in here. look for a bean. Not that.
What, Super Mario Bang, Bang, whatever.
Yeah, I used to actually have one that sounded like Super Mario Brothers, but I've lost it. No, that's close enough. Mm, all right, and I know I need to let you guys go on break. So what I'm going to do is I can put it on the coins or I can put it on the player. In this case, I'm going to put it on the player. So the first thing I want to do is audio. Here is I'm going to drag it on top of the player. Now there's two ways I can do this. I can use the prefab and tell it to grab that audio component, or I can drag it on top of the player and then update the prefab. So let's do the latter. I'm going to take it, drag it on top of the player. Let's try that one more time. Audio. Now it's a part of the player. We're going to update, apply changes to the prefab, and we're not going to tell it to play on awake, because we tell it to play on awake, it does that. Now the next thing we're going to do is this. We're going to say we have our audio source, so what I'm going to do is audio source, coin sound, and then I'm going to tell that coin sound to be equal to and start that source we now have attached to the player. So coin sound is equal to get component that we're going to get is an audio source. And then what we're going to do in coins is tell it to play. So coin sound dot play, and then semicolon. And because we don't have it on loop, it should only play once until we hit the next coin. And because it's not on the coins, it's not going to die if the object dies. And that's how you do that. So I'll explain a little bit more about it. 10